Hello, CVC Youth. Happy Sunday to you today. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that your hearts are full and you're getting to spend time with people that love you. Um, yeah, today we're doing a combined lesson, of course. Um, Today, our scripture passage talks about one of my favorite truths about God. Something I talk about somewhat often, but it's coming at it from a different angle today. So today, this morning, we're talking some about the incarnation, which is Jesus becoming a human being, having a body. Incarnate is in flesh. So Jesus becomes a human, he takes on a human body. And when I talk about that with you guys, one of my things I like to say frequently is that Jesus came to learn from us, and Jesus came in flesh as a human so that he could relate with us, right? So that he could argue with his brothers and sisters and have scraped knees and know what it's like to be hungry and know what it's like to hurt. He could know all those things which make us human. And God knows all those things which make us human. But in Jesus, he uniquely experiences our lives and our reality. That all is still true. I still believe that. But our passage today comes at the incarnation from a different angle, another true angle, but a different one and a super glorious one. So I'll just read it. Let's read it. It comes from Hebrews 1. So Paul's letter to the Jewish people. And we're going to read 3 of the verses here, okay? So Hebrews 1. Long ago, at many times and in many ways, God spoke to our fathers by the prophets. But in the last days, in these last days, these final days, we're in these final days, he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed the heir of all things, through whom he also created the world. Right? So now he speaks through his Son, who he used to make everything. He, Jesus, is the radiance of the glory of God and the exact imprint of his nature. And he upholds the entire universe by the word of his power. Even Jesus enfleshed upholds the entire universe. After making purification for sins, after dying for us and covering us with his own sacrifice, he sat down at the right hand of the Majesty on high. Okay, cool. So this passage tells us a couple things about the incarnation. It's not just about God relating with us, it is. But in Jesus' life, we can know who God is. The God who created, the God who creates and sustains not just us, not just the world, but the universe in all its glory and complexity and beauty. Jesus is the way God does that. And Jesus shows us that God that we can't know without him. He gives us a picture of that God that we can hold on to and know and trust. And he sits at the right hand of majesty. Jesus is our way to truth because Jesus is the only one. God, and remember, God and Jesus are the same, so I'm using them interchangeably. God is the only one who gets the full picture. He knows what it means to be a human being, but God also knows the glory of what he's done and the goodness of his life. And so Jesus, is our guide, is our point of truth to move towards being with God and being more fully like God. God's spoken through prophets. God's spoken through preachers. God has spoken through Bible studies and through conversations on the bus or subway or with somebody down the street. I don't know why I'm using a subway. I don't know if any of us have even rode a subway, but there you are. There's a subway comment. Not the restaurant, of course. I mean the underground train system in major cities. God meets us at these places and reveals truth. But the truth that he reveals, whether it's from a preacher or a prophet, or in another moment with a human being when we're learning about God and who he is, Jesus is the truth. He both helps us understand the words that are being told us by people around us, but the words that people tell us that point to him are words that we can trust, are words that are trustworthy. I think it's so cool too. Now, this is me getting on kind of a different tangent, taking a step aside for a second. Jesus came and lived a simple, difficult, precious, ugly, painful human life for 33 years. He did it. And that's part of what leads to his own glory. It's because of his payment for that sin that he now sits at the right hand of majesty. And he's above everything and everyone. And he will always be above us, even though he stoops down to wash our feet. Even though he's above us. But that said, in the same way that his suffering and difficulties as a person in life led to his glory in the afterlife, in the true life, right? He's there now and he's here. That's happening for us, right? Because of what Jesus is. We don't purify others from their sin, but we can choose to trade our brokenness and sinfulness and meanness for the life that Jesus offers. We can choose that. And when we do that, God uses us to demonstrate a certain level of glory in the world and in the life after that points people to him. Use Jesus as your litmus for truth. There's a lot of false teaching. There's a lot of false teaching from good teachers even, right? People who say things from a genuine place but might be missing the mark. But if we look to Jesus, if we try to get to know Jesus, that's how we can judge the teachings we're getting. And a good teacher points us to Jesus as supreme. So this, at least part of my lesson today, is good teaching, because I'm telling you that Jesus is the way to know truth, to know what's God's like, to know God's nature, and then therefore who we ought to be, how we should be. It's a little rambly, but a key point in that is, here's this. Jesus can't be your standard for truth. Jesus can't be your standard for knowing God unless you get to know Jesus. Unless you spend time with Jesus. Remember that he's a person. It helps to get to know a person if you talk to them. So talk to him, spend time with him, and ask him to teach you about who he is. And he'll do it in many, many ways, as the author of Hebrews has talked about in the past. So I love you lots, and I'm proud of you. And I hope you'll keep an eye out and listening ear open for what Jesus is teaching you about who he is, about who God is, and about who you're meant to be. And I'll see you later.